afternoon. Thank you, Lucas. It's good to be here today. We come together today to celebrate the life and to mourn the loss of this beloved person, Jesus Chuy Negrete. I am the Reverend Eileen Wiviat, the minister of this church, where Chuy and Rita have been members and were married in 1989. Here we practice an inclusive faith, embracing an ever-expanding theology of love. Unitarian Universalism encourages a free and responsible search for truth. It holds its members accountable to making the world more just, and it beckons us towards the promise of collective liberation. And we draw wisdom from many sources, including the words and deeds of prophetic people. It is good to be together today here to honor and celebrate the life of Chuy, who was such a prophetic voice and who so fully embodied the principles and values of this shared faith. He spoke and sang truth to power and challenged the status quo. Chuy was a musician, a poet, a troubadour, an activist, and an inspiration. He was a dearly loved brother, father, husband, and friend. We gather not just to celebrate his remarkable life and all that he accomplished, which is so fully on display here today, but to honor the spirit of all life. We gather to dedicate ourselves to carrying on his legacy, told through powerful words and music. We gather to remind ourselves of the power of telling stories that inspire. And we gather to ignite the passion and commitment necessary to fight for a better world. Though we carry grief because he is no longer with us, we are grateful for the ways he fought and the ways he enriched so many lives. Today, we will honor Chuy through the language of music, poetry, art, and dance. In this gathering of love, we will hear the collective voice of human wisdom confirming the sacredness of all life. May we find comfort together, and may we be assured that our lives have value and meaning beyond our presence here. May we know that love, beauty, and goodness endure. I invite Chuy's wife Rita and sons Joaquin and Lucas to come forward now and light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. The flaming chalice was created by Austrian artist Hans Deutsch during World War II as the symbol for the Unitarian Service Committee. It symbolizes our search for truth, guided by reason, and our commitment to justice. May the light of this flame be a beacon in the struggle for liberation. May the warmth of this flame ignite our compassion, and may the energy of this flame empower our collective vision of hope. Let the words and music offered today bring you comfort and joy. Rita, Joaquin, and Lucas, as well as Chuy's sisters, Martha, Santa, Juanita, and Rosa, are grateful for your presence. Let the celebration begin.
Thank you, Reverend. That was beautiful. We'd like to start with a celebratory dance brought to you by I'll try to pronounce it, Huehuecoyotl, the Aztec dancers. But before we begin, I do want to make a note that we ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones so we don't have any interruption to any of the music or poetry or dancing here today. So thank you so much. Put your phones on silent and enjoy. Thank you to the Huehuecoyotl Aztec dancers. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for bringing life and love and energy into the room. I think we all appreciate it and can really use it right now. And I think we all agree Chuy would have loved every moment of that. So thank you. Next, we'll have my mother, Rita Rousseau, Chuy's wife, speak. In the next section, we'll be having presentations from Rita, myself, and Joaquin. So thank you so much. And to the best mom in the world, come on up. We love you. Everyone give her a round of applause.
Almost 32 years ago today, I stood in this room and married Chuy Negrete, the love of my life. I knew I was diving into something deep, even deeper than the usual till death do us part. For one thing, we were middle-aged, around 40, and had both spent many years single, getting well set into our sometimes peculiar habits. Now we clung to each other as if we were afraid of letting go for even a second. We dreamed of spending the rest of our lives together, and we even hoped against hope for children. This would be a bicultural marriage. Thank the goddess I spoke high school Spanish, something Chuy discovered the night we met at the National Museum of Mexican Art. But that certainly wasn't the same thing as being Mexican, something I was eager to become, or at least as close an approximation as I could achieve, wrapped in the love of a close and warm South Chicago Mexican-American family, including four new sisters. But most daunting was the fact that Chuy Negrete was no ordinary private person. He was an extraordinarily gifted folk singer and musicologist and teacher and actor, as well as someone who had been present at the creation of the Chicano movement. Indeed, was a key founder. He was adored, or at least admired, by thousands and thousands of people, and fans approached him regularly to tell him tales of how he had changed the entire direction of their lives. It was a lot to take in. But I gradually learned, as we settled into new routines and rhythms, and we did indeed welcome two sons into our lives, that there was a big-hearted, private Chuy just for us, a totally different side of the man who is also the public Chuy for the multitudes. Chuy loved me dearly. He loved being my husband and partner, and he loved being a father to his boys. He gave me the gift of time to be with them, working for 4 years at Instituto Progreso Latino and Malcolm X College, supporting us well enough that I could have the luxury of being home with them for their earliest years. He loved being a kid again with his kids. He loved hanging out with them at the pool at my dad's place in Kansas. He loved the church camping trips every summer. Thank you, Dale Griffin. Yes, he loved the miniature golf and the go-karts. He loved taking them sledding in the winters. He loved playing the role of stay-at-home dad, and especially being the everyday and party day chauffeur for our boys and their gaggles of friends, some of whom are here today. Sharing Chuy with the world wasn't easy. He was a stay-at-home dad until he wasn't, until it was Hispanic Heritage Month or the period around Cinco de Mayo, and Chuy, with his guitar and his harmonica, would get on planes and crisscross the country, sometimes for weeks at a time. By the time the boys were in elementary school, I had a job that also required travel, and juggling schedules became incredibly complicated. I don't know how we would have made it without help from dear friends and fellow parents, and some of you are here today too. I remember one day when I was fretting whether, in my estimation, our sons would grow up to share the political sensibilities and sense of heritage that we were trying to instill in them. He said, "Oh, I won't even care. Once they're grown up, you'll just be my girl again." And I was, and I always will be.
Well, this is going to be short and sweet, but that's just how I feel about it. My father was an incomparable person. He had a seemingly endless wellspring of love within him. It allowed him to do what seemed impossible to us mere mortals who just knew him. He touched thousands of lives with his incredible music. It took him all over this nation and beyond and made an indelible mark not only on the Chicano movement, but as folk music in this country as a whole. But for all that accomplishment, I sometimes think the most impressive thing about him was to watch him walk into a room, approach someone, turn on that infectious smile, and transform that person's mood and state of mind in an instant. It never seemed to matter what they were feeling before, or if they knew him at all, or even what he said. I must admit, all of us in his family have experienced being a little stunned when he evoked such joy from a probing question or remark that would have drawn a scowl asked by anyone else. But we never minded. We always knew he was special, almost magical in his way with people. And we felt that love too, and more. No matter the times, good or bad, recent or past, he was always with us, and he always will be. He was the kind of person who could never say no, and he did everything for us and others. Because of that, we are privileged to feel that love every second of every day from him, and that love lives on inside of us. Today, I ask you to celebrate his music, celebrate his art, and keep alive what he gave you, his life's most important accomplishment, his compassion and love for his family and his people. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucky. I guess it's my turn. Many of you know me. My name is Lucas Negrete Rousseau. I'm the little one. Not so little anymore. I think some of you haven't seen me since I was like this. And I was a little kid using crayons to draw my father's CD covers and screaming "Huelga" on a stage. I didn't really know what it meant, but my dad brought me there nonetheless. But I just want to start by saying thank you for all of you for being here and allowing us to remember my father. I also want to reassure a lot of you, we haven't seen each other in a long time. And during these pandemic times, I want you all to know that Chuy was able to be with many of his family members during these health challenges of the last year that he faced. But if you knew Chuy, you would know that his family and friends, all of you, the Chuyverse, the Chuy universe, Planet Chuy, whatever you want to call it, was the most important thing to him in the world. And everyone here, all of you, were so special to him in individual ways. And so on behalf of my dad, I just want to thank you for being here, and I'm absolutely certain he would feel like his world was reflected here today, and it feels like he's here in this room with us. Thank you. My father definitely had a legacy, to say the least, but he had a legacy as a musician, a musicologist, an activist, a Chicano icon, obviously to so many in the Mexican-American community, Southside Chicago and beyond. But he also had a legacy as a father, a brother, an uncle, and a friend. And I hope to share a little bit more of that with you today. As you can imagine, my father's music often felt like gravity. It felt like the gravity that pulled our world together and kept our world spinning. But what many of you might not know is that he really did have two jobs. One as a center of this music-filled Chuyverse, and the other as a full-time stay-at-home father for two less than perfectly behaved boys. And two boys that were also bordering on tone deaf, unfortunately. Much to his dismay, we were not musical. But today I just want to remember that part of my father's life. To all of you, he was the center of that Chuy universe, but to me, he was just my dad. And I want to remember the things that he taught me. And he really did act both as a father and a mentor, so I want to focus on the lessons that I learned. In no particular order, my father taught me how to drive my first car. badly, very badly. He taught me how to cook eggs in the morning, more specifically chilaquiles, which are obviously the most important part of a Mexican's breakfast. My father taught me to laugh at myself, just like the time our entire family fell into the Mississippi River at the beginning of our road trip, and we were all four covered in mud, and nothing but a smile could be seen on my dad's face. He taught me how to read, even though he would read Harry Potter aloud to me, and he would interject his own completely made-up dialogue and Chicano characters into the plot, only as such a performer as my father could do. Chuy also taught me to be inquisitive. He always had a question to ask, something to see, something to read, something to learn, a new conversation waiting to begin with a new friend. And he taught me to love myself and all of my strengths and all of my flaws. There was no one as complete a person as my father. You never got less than 100% Chuy Negrete when you were with him, and I've learned to do the same. Although for me, I hope it's closer to 95% because 100% Chuy was a lot, but we loved every minute of it. And thank you, Father, for being 100% you the entire time. And my dad also taught me never to be ashamed of myself, because my dad was unshakable. Nothing could embarrass him, nothing could make him feel less confident, because for him, all of it was just going with the flow. And lastly, and most importantly, my father taught me Spanish. He taught me what being Chicano meant. And his legacy and our history has formed a framework around me that allows me to contextualize my own self in terms of society, race, politics, and personal identity. So to your question, Mom, don't worry, you ended up with two highly political children in the end. And I will say my mom was able to convince him not to name me Quetzalcoatl or any other very dramatic Aztec names. So I'm just Lucas, but thank you so much, Mom, for bringing me along for the ride. And funny enough, as I grow older, I come to see, much to the dismay of my angsty teen self, that I see so much of my dad when I look in the mirror. I can feel so much of his light and personality and energy in me, and I hope to keep that in my heart forever. To my dad, I'm so proud to be your son, and I could not have asked for a better father, mentor, and friend these last 28 years. May you rest in peace and power. We love you. Chuy Negrete. I'm not done yet. So next, even more Negretes are to come. So we'll be joined by the Negrete sisters in individuality. So we'll be starting with Santa Negrete Perez. Santa, please come up. She's already here.
Oof. Hi. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Santa. I am the fourth youngest of the family. We were 5. And I just want to tell you, first of all, to see these people out here, all the love and support from my brother, I just can't get over it. We all look a little different, but we still have that heart for our Mexican culture, for our education, for our youth. So I am so glad to see many, many faces that I haven't seen in a long time. You know, life is so short. Life is so short that God doesn't promise tomorrow. Our existence must be meaningful. One could say that my brother found meaning in his calling for educating and singing. He went to many places educating people on their Mexican heritage, Mexican history, brought about joy to everyone. That was Chuy Negrete, his passion. This cultural knowledge still affects the individuals on this earth. Finally, my brother wouldn't want you to be crying for him. He would want us to continue educating our youth on our cultural and our Mexican heritage. As he passes the baton, he passes it to us to continue. I thank God that my brother is no longer in pain, but is in a better better place. I take comfort in the Lord's Prayer that says, your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I love you, Jesus. Continue going forward with his dreams and his tribute. Just want to thank everybody coming again, and I just miss everyone. Maybe we could get together again. You know, we always kind of meet after everybody passes, so let's get it going and maybe meet at people's houses or just get it together. I just want to thank people that are out of town, like my cousin Sophie that came all the way from California, and I see people's faces. I can't wait to go and talk to you. So thank you again. Jesus, rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Santa. Next, we're going to have a little bit of music. So Juanita Negrete Phillips will be singing Cruz de Madera. Thank you, Juanita. Everyone give her a round of applause.
Among the many ventures that my brother took, he attended a lot of funerals. Many families would request that Chuy compose corridos for their loved ones. This was one of Chuy's favorite. Una cruz de madera de la más sencilla. Eso es lo que pido cuando yo me muera. Yo no quiero lujos ni mesas de adobes. No quiero una caja que valga millones. Lo único que quiero es que canten canciones, que sea una gran fiesta, dijo Chuy Negrete. Yo no quiero llantos, yo no quiero penas, yo no quiero lágrimas, yo no quiero nada. Lo único que pido es que allá en mi velorio una serenata por la madrugada, una cruz de madera de la más sencilla. Eso es lo que quiero cuando yo me muera. Yo no quiero lujos ni mesas de adobe. No quiero una caja que valga millones. Lo único que pido es que canten canciones, que sea una gran fiesta, dijo Chuy Negrete. Una cruz de madera. ¡Que viva Chuy!
Thank you so much, Juanita. That was beautiful. Next of the sisters, we'll have Rosa Negrete Livieri, also singing a song, an original song, called Voz de la Guitarra de Chuy. Thank you, Rosa.
Jesús, Chuy, Enrique, Negrete. Most of you know him as Chuy, my brother. Son of the late Bernardo Emelesia Negrete. Sisters, 4. Yes, there were 4 sisters, not only 3. Marta and Jesus crossed the Rio Grande when he was 2. Watched him while my mom and dad went to the Piscas. Jesus continued. Martha, she got married and raised a family. But Jesus, he went in another direction. His calling to educate, to explore, to find the history of our people. So he continued in song and music, teatro. I stand before you today because of Chuy. He taught me how to play the guitar. I sing this song for you, Chuy, because many requested him in funerals. So I write and I sing the song for my brother Chuy. Voz de la guitarra de Chuy. Voz de la guitarra tuya. Cantabas con tu guitarra, educador y activista, luchando por nuestra raza. No se olvidarán tus corridos que cantabas por todo el país, educando a la gente entera con música y tus gritos picantes. 500 años cantabas la historia de nuestros antepasados, en la Revolución Mexicana y en huelga con César Chávez. ¡Que viva la huelga! No se olvidarán tus corridos que cantabas por todo el país, educando a la gente entera con música y tus gritos picantes. No se olvidarán tus corridos que cantabas por todo el país, educando a la gente entera con música y tus gritos picantes. ¡Ay! Así es, raza.
Thank you so much, Rosa. Wow, what a family. Can we say that again? Incredible. And I also want to give a special shout out to Martha, the eldest sister, and just say what a spectacular family, and I feel so proud to be part of this family, to have Chuy's legacy live on in music and in love and in spirit. There's a little bit more family to come. So next we'll be having some family memories from Erica, as well as Jose Luis Bustos and Sophie Nunez. So do you guys want to come up together? Okay, come on up. Thank you so much. Everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Erica Perez. I'm Santa's daughter, so Chuy was my uncle. I did not know my uncle Jesse very well. I called him Uncle Jesse. But I did know that I loved him. I loved the feeling of warmth he brought whenever he would barrel through the house with his guitar case, ready to sing a song fit for any occasion. I loved that my wiener dog liked my Uncle Jesse, even though he hated most people. And I love that he and Rita gave me my two cousins, Joaquin and Lucas, also known as Lukey, who I was very close with in my childhood years. I love my Uncle Jesse because he loved my mother. My Uncle Jesse was often described by many as an educator. Likewise, I spent the last 4 years working for Chicago Public Schools, dedicated to empowering youth with words and stories. Like my uncle, I am committed to giving a voice to those otherwise left unheard. And I can only pray I make a tenth of the difference my uncle has, but I'm also committed to trying. My uncle graduated from Chicago Vocational High School, or CVS, on the far south side of Chicago, and starting this fall, in August, I'll also be attending Chicago Vocational School, but not as a student, as the school counselor intern, the final step before I finish my degree in counseling. Another pseudo Negrete will return to the CVS hall, and I promise to follow in my uncle's footsteps and advocate for those who need it most. In the 1950s, my Uncle Jesse, along with my mother and some of my aunts, made the treacherous journey to the United States and crossed the Rio Grande. This is my public declaration to my Uncle Jesse that I'm coming for everything that you crossed for. Rest in peace.
Now I'm ready. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sofia Cardenas Nunez, and I am privileged to have this opportunity to share a few words for a man who there aren't enough words for, my primo, Chuy Negrete. I am but one of over 100 cousins that the Negrete family has back in California. Although they could not be here, rest assured, I bring their prayers, their condolences, and their love for Rita and the boys and the entire Negrete family here with me today. Heroes, in my opinion, are those individuals that are willing to sacrifice for their beliefs, willing to be of service for those that are in need, being the voice for those who cannot speak or are not heard, and doing so without seeking personal fame, fortune, or recognition. Since Chuy's passing, I have read and heard so many amazing, inspiring, and historical stories and contributions that Chuy has done and was involved with. In all that he has done and accomplished, he has continuously remained humbled and has never forgotten who he is, where he came from, or where his roots are from. For this and much more, Jesus, Chuy Negrete, is a true hero to me, and I'm sure to many more. I have this picture of myself, some cousins, my uncle, and my Aunt Pita. And we're standing together with our fists out like this. I'm about 4 years old. And my Aunt Pita had just come back from Fresno from meeting the famous Chicago cousins at a teatro performance. She was inspired by what she learned and immediately taught us how to say Chicano power and told us we were more than just Mexicans. We were Chicanos. Years later, as I listened to Chuy's music, I heard him say the word Chicano. His music has always inspired me to learn more about our culture and to make sure that it is not lost. I have 3 songs of Chuy's at home, and every family event, I play the 3 songs. We love hearing his corridos and the music he made. It brought us home to a culture we've never been to Mexico, and so we didn't know what it was like. But my grandmother would hear his music and immediately start telling stories. So for those brief moments in time, we were with our Chicago family, and that has never left me. I can remember when the first time I ever came to Chicago, Chuy and all the family took me to a park. I can't remember the name of it, but it was in Lake Michigan, and Chuy just walked right. He goes, "Oh yeah, this is what we do. Walk right in. Just ay, lávate la ropa." No, I'm like, Chuy, the water doesn't look too clean here. I don't know what's going on. And he goes, "No, así no se hace." You know, he was just amazing. And I was overwhelmed with him this last year in October. We lost my Uncle Desi, who Chuy was a couple years younger, I think, because he's the same age as my Aunt Martha, my cousin Martha. And so he had the privilege of growing up with him as a child in Donna, Texas, where our families were together. And when he immediately heard about my uncle's passing, he called me up. He goes, "Hey, prima, I'm going to write a corrido." I was like, okay, I figured a couple months. The next day, him and Rita called and go, "Oh, it's done." I was like, what? What do you mean it's done? He started singing over the phone, and of course he couldn't work the phone very good, so he had to tell Rita come and do it for me. But, you know, and I was just like amazed. And I have to say that when I played it at my uncle's funeral, because I played it as we laid his remains in the earth, the people around me were just overwhelmed. They kept asking, "Who's that artist? Oh my God, you know, where did you get that?" I go, "That's my primo, and he wrote that for his primo right here." They're like, "How did he know he was gonna die?" I go, I had a cousin who said that. I was just over. I go, you just don't know. And like, Lucia said, if you didn't know Chuy, you didn't know, and that's just him. And I'm just, humbled to have been here to be a part of you, and so glad that I was able to come and be here. God just works in mysterious ways, I guess. But the Negrete family has always been there for me during all my losses and our family losses. So to be here is something that we needed to do, and I take that back with me. The opportunity to be here with you today is something that I'll forever carry in my heart. Okay? So I know that my primo will never be forgotten, because as long as we share his stories, his songs, and his legacy, Chuy Negrete will forever be remembered. Que viva Chuy Negrete. Gracias.
Good afternoon. Yo me llamo José Luis Bustos Calderón. No soy de la familia directa de Chuy. A este hombre let me go back to the English. I'm not a direct family of Chuy. Back in 1976, when I first met him, I was invited to go to their house, to my comadre Marta's house, to Chuy's house, and that's when I first met him, at a family gathering. I had just left serving the military, so I was all gung-ho. But listening to Chuy that afternoon in a family gathering, he was singing his protest song. He was singing his farm songs. And it turned me on. I was 24 years old back then when I left the Army. And I remember thinking, I want to do what this guy does. I truly did. And that was to unite people, to organize people like he did. And yes, Chuy was a historian, a musician, a composer, a playwright, an organizer, an activist. But above all, he was Chuy, a down-to-earth person who could make you laugh and 2 minutes later make you cry. Because he was a true historian, he was a true deliverer of history. And that's what I loved about this man. I came from Mexico when I was 7 years old. I grew up in South Chicago. And, well, I had never seen the U.S. through the eyes of Chuy, as far as our people go. And that turned me on, because it opened my eyes to so many injustices that were taken in the labor movement, not only in the farm movement, but everywhere else. Chuy was an awesome person. I remember thinking back then that he is our Bob Dylan. He is our Mexican Bob Dylan. Because not only did he have the harmonica, like Bob Dylan did, his guitar, but he was a poet. When he spoke about the history of our people, I'm talking 500 years of Mexican history in the Americas, and then coming up here, coming north. As a composer, I remember when he composed a song in 1983. You all know about the slain Chicano activist, Rudy Lozano. And Chuy said, "Your death has not been in vain. The ideas you left are in my hands. Your people continue with you." And so my hope is that Chuy's legacy, which is the conveying of our history, conveying of our values, continues on, so that our kids can see that we can be proud of being the race of the sun, the bronze people. So they can be proud to learn about our Mexican American history, if you want to call it that, our Chicano history. We should always remember Chuy as an educator of the highest extreme in all places where he went, whether it was the prisons, whether it was community gatherings, community happenings, or whether it was in universities. I had the privilege of working with him at Indiana University Northwest when we had an event that went on for 5-6 years, and I was lucky enough to be able to ask Chuy to come in and perform for us. And I'll tell you, he brought the house down. He brought the house down in the sense that people were laughing. And he brought the house down when you saw the faces of those who have learned something that they did not know, and they found it very, very interesting. And that was Chuy. Being able to convey that with that assuredness that, yes, it happened. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sure you heard this story, but I got to tell you, it's in his corrido when he's talking about coming into this country, and then they forced him to go to school so they can learn English. You know that story? It's just awesome to me, when he's talking about going home And then he says, Mom, how did it go in school? And the boy says, very good. But the teacher says, my father is George Washington. He doesn't even have a mustache, Mom. I thought this guy is awesome, man. Oh my gosh, and that was Chuy. That's how I remember Chuy. He played guitar, and he just filled your mind with ideas, with things that one did not know. I have 4 daughters and 1 son. And one of my daughters, my cousin Beto here can testify to that, she's a Chicana. After hearing Chuy Negrete, she no longer is Mexican-American, not a Mexicana. She was born here with parents from Mexico. She's a Chicana. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege, brothers and sisters, to have known this man who brought so much joy, so much knowledge to our community. And I just hope and pray that this continues through somebody, because it is an awesome thing to take place in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, family. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Jose. That was fantastic. Next, we will be having a little bit of music from my father's old and dear friend, Frank Corona, and his son, Johnny Corona. Frank was the best man at my father's wedding in this very place, so it's a very special moment, and I'm sure my dad would love to hear it. So thank you so much, Coronas. Please go ahead. Thank you.
I have to do a check. Okay, got the hearing aids. Got them both on. I got my glasses. Dientes, ahí están los dientes. Hay veces que se olvida ya con los años. My son wrote this corrido. We called him Johnny Chivas. This is Johnny Corona. Señores, voy a cantarles de un cantante tan conocido. En los barrios, universidades y también las pistas. En el año 48, el día 15 de julio, Bernardo, su madre y 4 hermanas. En sur Chicago creció con las poemas de los niños héroes, la revolución y el chicanismo. El doctorado nos enseñó de la historia mexicana y la política en sus corridos originales. Chicano, yo soy chicano, and I'm proud, and I know I can do it in my own good way. Some people say we're crazy, some people say we're lazy. No soy puro mexicano. Chicano, yo soy Chicano, and I'm proud, and I know I can do it in my own good way. And all across the USA, from Chicago to LA, Chicano, soy Chicano, right on. Qué lejos estoy del suelo donde he nacido. Inmensa nostalgia invade mi pensamiento. Y al verme tan solo y triste, por ojo al viento. Órale, Chuy. Quisiera llorar, quisiera morir de sentimiento. Gracias, muchas gracias.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Johnny. Yeah, Yo Soy Chicano is ringing in my head. I've heard it for the last 28 years, so thank you for the memories. Next, we'll hear some words from Maria Villarreal, telling us about what Chuy meant to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you for asking. And the boys. I met Chuy many years ago in the late 70s, early 80s through my husband, Roman. They had been friends from their youth in the hood. Through the years, he would come over the house so energized with all the raza information from Texas, Califas, New Mexico, and all the other states he had visited. He shared a lot of stories and would practice and sing at the house. Our kids were young, and he taught them the songs Yo Soy Chicano and playing around El Moco song. You remember that one? We really enjoyed his visits. Later in life, he started whistling in the hallway. Estoy aquí. I'm here. Abre la puerta, familia. Open the door, family. We will miss you, my compadre. Be at peace, singing your corridos in the other world. Love.
Thank you, Maria. Next, we'll be hearing an original poem by Carlos Compián. Carlos, please come up. Thank you so much. Everyone give him a round of applause.
Orale. Rita, we have memories for this place. This is where Rita and Jesus were married. Some of you may know that. And so, thank you again for bringing us together. I want to start by saying there's someone in the audience who came all the way from California, originally from South Chicago, from the back over there on Commercial, Escanaba, in that area. That's Lalo Cervantes. And Lalo Cervantes is here. Some of you know him. He was in the Teatro del Barrio. Stand up, Lalo. Let people see you for a second. The brother came here. I want to point out the fact if it weren't for him, I would never have had the pleasure, the honor, the privilege of knowing the Negrete family. We were standing, waiting for a bus on 18th Street near Cermak, actually Cermak and Halsted. And I saw this young brother reading a book, and I also was a young brother at that time. And we looked at each other and said, ¿Qué está leyendo, güey? You know, a book, pendejo. Anyway, but eventually he got around to telling me about the troupe he was interested in, the group he was interested in, and I was terribly interested in poetry, and Jesus and his sisters were all poets, poets of canciones. This morning, as I thought about coming here, the Spirit moved me to my family little library, and I selected a book, and the book was called Canto al Pueblo, 1978, Corpus Christi. And in that little book, I've opened it, and there was a photograph of Jesus, Rosa, Lalo, other members of the troupe, and across from that picture was a poem that it seems it was written for Jesus. And I just have to read that poem to start with. And it was written by the Ricardo Sanchez. Some of you may know who that was. He was a pioneer in the literatura chicana. And I'm going to go ahead and put my specs on, make sure I'm reading it. Canto mi canto a mi pueblo, tal como siento mi pueblo, no lo canto pa ofender, solo canto mi deber, mi grito rompe cadenas, mi grito acaricia las nenas nacidas en nuestras arenas. Mis llantos brotan aquí, vitales cuando nací, mis lágrimas son mis montañas, mi cuna, mi nopalera. Ay, pueblo chicano mío, hechizas tu canto en mí, sonriente y lleno de vida. Ay, pueblo, te canto a ti. Ricardo Sánchez, que viva. This poem, homenaje, I just wrote, and I'm still working on it, but it reflects a lot of that relationship con Jesus. He didn't stop singing. Last night I dreamt que nuestro amigo Jesus Chuy Negrete shared corridos con Mexico's heroes, Villa y Zapata. They applauded him, called him maestro, compañero chicano. It is true que Jesus remembered their sacrifice for justicia, honored them and their soldiers, humble people de la tierra that lacked a home and fair wages. For harsh is the hand and heart of los ricos, the imperialists. Jesus was a man who took a stand singing, "Which side are you on?" Nuestro Chuy, our singing historian, recounted many deeds across 5 centuries, los 5 siglos, cuando llegaron los españoles reaching the playas de Veracruz before Tenochtitlan, carrying the plague for gold y plata to feed the priests, pimp, and royal poverty. Negrete revealed to you and me Mexican struggles from the 16th to 20th centuries. Was it sparked after being inspired by Denver's Cruzada for Justicia's founder, Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez, whom he admired, especially his famous epic poem, Yo Soy Joaquin, which Jesus would frequently recite, and sometimes with slight alterations. I am Cuauhtemoc, proud and noble, king of an empire, civilized beyond the dreams of the Gachupin Cortes, who also is the blood and image of myself. I am Netzahualcoyot, first poet warrior, hungry coyote. I am the sword and flame of Cortes, the despot. I am the Coatli eagle and the Coat serpent of the Mexica. Chuy met con Cesar Chavez y Dolores Huerta as they were building an organization, a union for all who do agricultural labor to feed millions. Chuy also made common cause with the Midwest FLOC and the Texas farm workers too. He sang of his southeast side and Pilsen and La Villita. He told of prisons and barrio schoolroom challenges where the system changed our names or gave us grief for being in parks and streets without papeles. He once performed his canciones in La Habana, Cuba, to the cheers of an international audience, and a week later, he was in a friend's backyard celebrating their birthday. He was known from San Francisco to Boston. He was a frequent guest in Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. He devoted years for learning Espanol and English, folkloric ballads, and legendary lyrics about La Llorona. He treasured the works of Victor Jara, Gabino Palomares, Utah Phillips, Amparo Ochoa, Bob Dylan, Joe Hill, and Woody Guthrie. Occasionally, he joked around with one-hit wonders by Johnny Horton, a gringo balladeer, with his Battle of the New Orleans. But how can we ever forget Jesus singing the Cubano Silvio Rodriguez's Comandante Che Guevara? Pues Chuy, he knew 1,000 Latino and Chicano cultural workers, los muralistas, teatro players, poetas, painters, and sculptors como Roman. He knew the Southsiders, Benny Ordonez, los hermanos Vicente and Francisco Mendoza. He knew Casaslan's Martin Cabrera. He knew March member Margarita Ortega. He knew Jose Guerrero. He knew teacher Maria Salcedo, Hector Gamboa, Ray Vasquez, and Salima Rivera. He knew Colorado's activist poet Lalo Delgado. He knew the first Brown Berets, los Pinto Poets, todos de Texas, Raúl Salinas, Ricardo Sánchez, y Tigre Pérez. Like you and me, he was friends con el viejo Carlos Cortez, the wobbly singing Coyote Coyacuicat. In search of classic corridos, Chicanos y Mexicanos, Jesus came to know los Alacranes Mojados, con el Chunky Sánchez, y también los hermanos Daniel and Luis Valdez de Teatro Campesino. It's clear Jesus heard los cantos al sexto sol while traveling barrios and borderlands, smokestacks and skyscrapers. He sang to those who punched the clock and walked the picket line. He gave voice to los cholos and locals while suffering alongside our next generation of students, the dreamers. It wasn't easy to get Chuy to sit still. Once we walked from his parents' place for afternoon coffee and pan dulce, a greasy spoon on Commercial Street, and then he confided in me, Kumpian, what do you think it would take for me to get to perform on Pinchy Saturday Night Live? I replied, I don't know. You really want to be on television? Yeah, Carlitos, I would love to perform all dressed como el Johnny Cash in black, wearing sunglasses. I might sing Brown-Eyed Children of the Sun y algo más en español. And then, of course, some people might confuse me for Jose Feliciano. But that's cool too, bro. And then I could end my set with a love song, a bolero. Behind me, a chorus of beautiful black women, as all backed up with yelling hallelujah, 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 as angels. Yeah, that would blow minds. Orale, carnal. I need to get back to the crib and make some calls. I have to get ready because I'm going on a new tour. ¡Que viva Jesús Negrete!
Thank you so much, Carlos. That was incredible. As we've mentioned several times during today's services, Chuy was not the only musical powerhouse in his family. The Chispas, the Negrete sisters, are going to be singing our penultimate song. Moving forward, La Chicana. Thank you so much. Everybody give them a round of applause.
Yes, please. Oh, my drum. Your drum. Under the, right, you can right. My drum. You didn't know the program was coming up? I was involved.
Chispa. Rosa, Juana, y Santa. We stand before you here because of Chuy. Chuy taught me how to play the guitar. He got us involved to know our culture, theater, music, and song. So we stand before you, Chuy, and dedicate this song to you. One of the songs that he used to sing in his 500 years of Chicano history was one of his favorites. Struggles of Women. La Chicana.
En la frente de liberación, este pueblo llamado Chicano, existen mujeres listas y valientes, existen mujeres que saben luchar. Son las Adelitas, chicanas bonitas, son las Adelitas de revolución. En ciudades y campos se forman, dando fuerza y valor a su pueblo. Revolucionarias luchando por justicia, revolucionarias dando inspiración. Son las Adelitas, chicanas bonitas, son las Adelitas de revolución. Son las madres de la raza nueva, son las novias del gran movimiento. Son las Adelitas, chicanas bonitas, son las Adelitas de revolución. Su cultura y origen respetan, su color y valor son de bronce. Son las Adelitas, chicanas bonitas, son las Adelitas de revolución. Son las Adelitas, chicanas bonitas, son las Adelitas de revolución. Tiene la muerte cantando. Por entre la nopalera. Llévate a mi hermano Chuy pa' que te cante canciones. Maldita muerte te digo, su nombre será siempre presente. Maldita muerte te digo, su nombre será siempre presente. Jesús Chuy Negrete, presente. Jesús Chuy Negrete, presente. ¡Que viva Chuy! ¡Que viva Chuy! ¡Eso! ¡Que viva Chuy! Gracias.
Hello. That was fantastic. Muchas gracias, Chispa. And yes, thank you to all of our speakers, poets, musicians, family members today. It's been spectacular to be here with you all. We are at our final act of today. I suppose. I mean, it's Chuy Negrete, so it's a show, right? So last but not least, we'll have our closing song, Gracias a la Vida, by Juan Diaz. And Gracias a la Vida was a song that was played at Chuy and Rita's wedding in this very place. So it holds a lot of special memories for Rita and the family. So thank you so much, and I hope everyone enjoys. Everyone give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you. Little known fact about Chuy, I believe. I ran into him at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. I was doing a gig there, and I asked him if he was also playing that night, and he said, "No, I'm here for a Star Trek convention." He was a Trekkie. Didn't know that. Chuy, evidently, he's touched a lot of lives. Everyone who's here, and I want to offer you my condolences. He was a superb individual, and a day like today makes me reflect that we lived on borrowed time. Every day is a gift that we get to live, and we live it as well as we can. We want to leave this world in a better place than we found it, and Chuy has touched definitely a lot of lives. So it's very fitting that he would have chosen, that his family would have chosen this song to finish today's program with gratitude and appreciation for being alive. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio dos luceros que cuando los abro perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco, y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado, y en las multitudes el hombre que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído que en todo su ancho graba noche y días, grillos y canarios, martillos, turbinas, ladridos, chubascos y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con él las palabras que pienso y declaro, madre, amigo, hermano, y luz alumbrando, y la ruta del alma del que estoy amando. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la marcha de mis pies cansados, con ellos anduve ciudades y charcos, playas y desiertos, montañas y llanos, y la casa tuya, tu calle y tu patio. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio el corazón que agita su marco cuando miro el fruto del cerebro humano, cuando miro el bueno tan lejos del malo, cuando miro el fondo de tus ojos claros. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la risa, me ha dado el llanto, así yo distingo dicha de quebranto, los dos materiales que forman mi canto y el canto de ustedes que es el mismo canto y el canto de todos que es mi propio canto. Gracias a la vida.
Thank you so much, Juan. Well, everyone, that's the end of our services for today. I want to thank you all again for being here and remembering my father, Jesus Chuy Negrete. May he rest in peace. And I want to thank you all for bringing energy and love into this place for our family, for our friends, for our Chicano movement, for our people. And I think that's a wrap. After the service, we'll be having a reception in the back. There's some light snacks, food, and drinks, so please join. This is probably the first time many of us have seen each other in quite a long time. So please use it to remember my father and what he meant to your life and to connect with each other and share your memories. So enjoy, and thank you so much for being here from the Negrete family. Hasta luego.